Now, is our rivalry with Rangers the greatest unrivalry in world football? The derby's obviously known worldwide for its colour, its atmosphere and its on-field drama. But in terms of actually comparing ourselves and our rivals over the last 10 years or so, it really is no contest at all. They last won a major trophy away back in 2011 to our delight. Since then, we've won 19. Now that's 9 league titles, 5 Scottish Cups and 5 League Cups. Added to that, we're just 2 games away from yet another Scottish Cup triumph, if it's ever played next season, which still is the intention, meaning that we could take our total to 20 and counting since they last won a major trophy. But our dominance over our rivals doesn't just go back to 2011, because if you take it back further to the start of the 21st century, we're still the real supremos in Scotland by an absolute mile. There's been 20 league championships up for grabs since the turn of the century. We've won 15 of them, that's 75%. That's more than other dominant teams in Europe like Bayern Munich in Germany, PSG in France and even Juventus in Italy. But other than the obvious, which is 10 in a row, what else can we look to achieve in the coming years? Well, luckily for you, on the 67 Hail Hail channel on YouTube, we've taken a look at some of the records that Celtic should be looking to achieve in the coming years. So why does 10 in a row matter so much? Well, first of all, it's a whole decade of dominance. Only a select few in Europe have managed that in European football history. You've got Punic in Armenia, Dinamo Tbilisi in Georgia and Sheriff in Moldova. They've all managed 10 in a row. Some have managed to go even further. Bate Borisov's 13 in a row ended in 2018. Rosenborg managed the same total between 1992 and 2004, while our old friends in Gibraltar, Lincoln Red Imps, managed 14. That's the same number as Latvian side Skonto. But away from the rest of mainland Europe, it's also even more important in Scotland given our history in this country. Now, 9 in a row has been managed twice before. First of all by ourselves between 1965 and 1974. That was Jock Stein's great side, obviously encompassing the Lisbon Lions. They got to 9 and then we were halted by our rivals, stopped by Rangers in our 10th season. But fear not, we repaid the favour in the season 1997-98 when they were on 9 in a row, looking to beat the Lisbon Lions total and get to 10. And Wim Janssen's Celtic, with the likes of Henrik Larsson involved, stopped them and got their own back. So this has happened twice before. We're really seeing history at the moment. Teams have made it to 9 in a row and then faltered at the final hurdle. That's why it's so important that we become the first team to win 10 in a row next season. In terms of bragging rights, it would make us pretty unbeatable in Scottish and Glasgow football. Added to a European Cup, which is already the biggest achievement ever done by a Scottish side or even possibly a British side, we would have 10 in a row, something that's never been done on these isles, and with those two put together, we would be pretty unbeatable by our rivals. But also this would be a triumph for today's Celtic supporter. As much as the European Cup win in '67 is an unbelievable achievement, a lot of fans, the vast majority of Celtic supporters nowadays, have no recollection. They weren't even around when that happened. This achievement, which would be the second biggest achievement, doing 10 in a row in our club's history, would be one for the supporters of today that could say they were there, well, if coronavirus allows. But if you want to peer even beyond 10 in a row and look at further numbers, we can do that as well. We're currently on the longest run of title wins in Europe on 9. That's confirmed 9, although Juventus and Ludogorets from Bulgaria are 2 teams who can also equal that total if they win the league this season. They both currently lead their titles, Ludogorets more so than Juventus, who I think lead by just a point. But if those 2 leagues are finished, both sides could join us on 9. However, TNS, the Welsh side, the New Saints, won't be making it to 9. They got to 8 but were denied this season by Connah's Quay Nomads. So 5 more titles on top of our current 9 would see us equal the European record, and 6 would see us overtake it. But just 4 more titles, or 13 in a row, could see us make even more history by winning title number 55 before our rivals. Now, when Rangers won title number 54 back in 2011, we were on just 42, but 9 in a row has taken us up to 51, and we're well in reach of beating them to title number 55. While overtaking them at some stage in the not too distant future looks almost a given, it'd be really good to do it in this current run of title wins. We're also just behind our Glasgow rivals in terms of trebles won. They've won 9 in their history, we've won 8. Although we have won 3 in the last 3 seasons. And given that we're in the aforementioned Scottish Cup semi-final with a game against Aberdeen and then either Hibs or Hearts in the final, we could well be looking at 4 trebles in a row. But given that it's played next season and 2 Scottish Cups could well be played during season 2020-2021, does that then mean that it would no longer be a treble and we could win a quadruple next season? Well, whatever way you want to look at it, there's a fair chance that we could have 15 trophies from 5 seasons. That would make 5 trebles in a row, and that would take us on to 10 trebles as a total ahead of Rangers. And in terms of on the pitch matters, when we meet our rivals, we lag ever so slightly behind them in terms of derby wins. These are how the numbers stack up. So matches played between Celtic and Rangers, 420. Rangers wins, 162. Celtic wins, 159. And draws, 99. But we've won 13 out of the last 18 derby matches, losing only 3. So history tells you that we're going to overtake that probably in the next couple of years. Who knows, maybe even next season. But an area where we have always led the way, and Scotland has been in European football. We've spoken already about the triumphs of the Lisbon Lions making and winning the final in 1967, 3 years later making the European Cup final as well. We were then got to the UEFA Cup final obviously in 2003. But in terms of the Champions League, we've led the way massively as well. We've been to the last 16 of the competition 3 times now. Rangers have only been once. But wouldn't it be lovely to become the first Scottish team to reach the quarterfinals of the Champions League? Is that doable in the next few years? Well, we're a fair bit off it at the moment, going out in the last 32 of the Europa League in the last couple of seasons, not even making the Champions League group stage in either year. But it is a target nonetheless that if we could become the first team to make it to the Champions League last 8, that would be historic. And we could also hit the front in the transfer window as well in terms of record fees shelled out for a player. Now that record currently sits at 12.5 million, a mammoth fee that Rangers paid out. They didn't get too much in return for Tory Andrew Flo in the year 2000. We've got second and third in the list, that's Christopher Julian in third, but more importantly Odsonne Edouard in second. Our highest fee shelled out of £9 million a couple of years ago. Now that's only £3.5 million behind what Rangers paid for Flo. So that tells you with the money in the bank in the coming years that we're going to keep going and spending more money, and hopefully we can even beat that total that Rangers shelled out back in 2000. Now, of course, we are far more financially prudent than our rivals. We calculate things, hence why we didn't go bust recently. But you do think that, given the way football's going with transfer fees getting greater and greater, you feel that Celtic are going to spend more than 12.5 million in the coming years, and that would be yet another record that we can put next to our name in Scottish football. But one record that we don't need, because we've already got it in the bag, at the moment anyway, is the record fee received for a player playing in Scotland. Now we've got the top 6 on this list in no particular order. That's Victor Wanyama, Aidan McGeady, Fraser Forster, Virgil van Dijk, Moussa Dembele and Kieran Tierney. Number 7 on that list, Craig Gordon, also plays at Celtic at the moment. So that's just a few targets that Neil Lennon, the board and the players and the fans obviously as well can be looking to in the coming years. If all goes to plan, and to be honest you can't doubt this current Celtic team at all, then we will hold more than a few of these records we've spoken about in this video in about 5 or even 10 years time. But of course it all comes down to next season for the big one. 10 in a row just means so much, nothing else really matters next season. Trebles in European football won't seem to matter as much. It's all about that league campaign and getting a 10th title in a row. We will cover that extensively next season. This summer obviously we've got loads more stuff to come every week, transfer stuff, historical stuff as well, as we await football coming back. Until then, take care and hail hail.